It all begins with the story of San Francisco.
89 days with San Francisco's Golden Gate Harbor.
Caused in torment from the two world wars, Allied power, fresh from a costly victory, decided the world cannot afford another war and came together to design machinery to keep peace.
And I think there was a very strong desire now, after having two world wars, and two wars which in particular really destroyed Europe and the European great powers and the colonial system. All of that went out the window. But I think there was a stronger desire amongst the citizens who were around the world who had experienced so much trauma from war to put more effort into a multilateral organization that could help to not only maintain peace, but to promote economic growth, protect human rights, etc.
No diplomatic gathering in history had ever captured the hopes of all the world as did the United Nations Conference on International Organization when it opened on April 25, 1945. Representatives of 50 countries assembled in San Francisco, the United States, representing almost 2 billion people at the time, more than 80% of humanity. They agreed on a procedure, set up a committee, and started to write the charter. For 9 weeks in the spring of 1945, San Francisco was the center of people's hopes for lasting peace. A General Assembly was made, in which all the United Nations member countries would have an equal vote. A Security Council was created to keep the peace, with permanent seats for the United States, the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, France, and China. Its power was based on the rule of unanimity of the Permanent Five. A trusteeship council was established to help certain colonies to independence, and an economic and social council also came into shape. The office of Secretary General was formed, and the duties of the Secretariat were set. Then, the delegates signed the charter they had written. On October 24, 1945, the United Nations as we know it today began its official existence. The UN Charter became a treaty, legally binding on the nations that signed it. It began with these words: "We, the peoples of the United Nations, determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, which twice in our lifetime has brought untold sorrow to mankind." China, one of the founding members of the United Nations, was the first to sign the charter. In 1971, the United Nations recognized the People's Republic of China as the only legitimate representative of China to the United Nations.
I believe that the restoration of the PRC's seat at the UN in 1971 was important to China, to the world, and to the UN itself. This move expanded the UN's reach, made it more representative, and lent it greater authority.
The United Nations initially had just 51 member states. Today, the organization, which is headquartered in New York City, has 193 members. Over the past 75 years, the UN has taken on new roles and tasks, but the fundamental issues the UN focuses on remain the same: to promote international peace and security, social and economic development, and human rights for all nations.